Good morning, dears, and warm welcome for all to today's science class. In the last session, we discussed about vegetative propagation and its advantages. Have you heard about microscopic organisms? Yes, microscopic organisms means the organisms which we cannot see with the help of our eyes, but we can see with the help of microscope. Microscope is a device we use it to see minute objects in large size. There are various types of microscopic organisms around us. Do you know how do they reproduce? Today let us learn about some reproductive methods which are carried by some microscopic organisms. Have you heard about yeast? Yes, that also most of you heard. While making appam, bread, cakes, etc., we are adding. Yeast is a unicellular organism. Means its body is made up of single cell. Uni means single. You can see that picture of the yeast on the board. This is the structure of yeast cell. It consists of plasma membrane. Inside that we can see the nucleus, cytoplasm, etc. How do they reproduce? The yeast cells can reproduce rapidly within short time when nutrients are available to them. In an hour, they are reproducing large number of cells. When water and nutrients are available to the yeast and the yeast cells are producing a small bulb-like projections in their body. These bulb-like projections are called bud. After that, the bud grows, it develops. If it grows, after some period, these bulbs are detached from the mother body and produce a new yeast cell. Again, that yeast cell grows and matures. After that maturation, it produces buds. In yeast cell, it is reproduces by the method is called budding. That means new organisms are produced from the parent cell by means of buds. It is a means of asexual reproduction. Budding is a means of asexual reproduction, means in this type of reproduction only one parent is involved. Sometimes the yeast cells producing a chain of buds, one after the other. You can see here 3 buds as a chain. From each that buds, they give rise to new individual or offspring. And this process is carried out by yeast. Let us do one activity. Take a glass tumbler, add little water and add a pinch of yeast. Yeast we can see as in the form of a small grains. And stir it well. And after that we have to add 1 spoonful of sugar into that. Again we have to stir the solution well and keep in warm place in the room. After an hour, we have to take 1 drop of water from the solution and place it on a glass slide and observe under a microscope. We can see the bulb-like projections are producing from the parent yeast cell. If it is possible, that activity we can do after reopening of our school. Okay. Children, it helps for fermentation. That is why the yeast is used for making breads, cakes, alcohols, wines, etc. Commercially, yeast is used in the large scale production of alcohol and cakes, breads, etc. Okay. In yeast cell, it reproduces by means of buds That process is called budding. Did you get the points? Yes. Children, do you know, during rainy season, some green patches we can see in a courtyard or in the pond, etc. Actually, what is these green patches? They are algae. Algae are multicellular organisms. When they get water and sufficient nutrients, they reproducing. When we look the algae through a microscope, we can see they have a filamentous body. And these filaments, when they get mature and also available water and nutrients to them, they start to reproduce. Each filament divides to produce 2 or 3 daughter filaments. This type of reproduction is called fragmentation. Means the parent cell divides to produce pieces or fragments. And each fragment gives rise to new algae or new individual. This type of asexual reproduction is called fragmentation, mainly to take place in algae. The filamentous algae we can call as Spirogyra. Spirogyra is a filamentous algae which we can see in ponds and also watery bodies. Green patches. And these algae are reproducing by means of fragmentation. Within a short period, they cover large space by reproducing fragmentation. Okay, what is the type of reproduction take place in algae? Fragmentation. It is a means of asexual reproduction where the parent cell then get mature, they give rise to pieces and each piece forming a new individual. This type of reproduction is called fragmentation. Another type of reproduction that we can see in fungus. Fungi are multicellular organisms. We may heard about spore formation. In the first lesson, we studied about spore formation, and the fungi grow in bread molds. They are reproducing by means of spores. Spores are reproductive bodies which are protected inside a thick covering during unfavorable conditions. At the starting of favorable conditions, this hard protective covering break and the spores are come out. And each spores germinate to forming a new individual. This type of reproduction is called Spo Formation, which take place in fern, moss, etc. Let us find out the structure of Sparangia. The spores are forming inside a bulb or balloon-like structure called Sparangia. When we are keeping a piece of bread in open space, after 2-3 days, due to the action of moist, the bread will become damaged or spoiled due to the attack of fungus. When we observe this piece of bread, a small piece of bread under a microscope, we can see the growth of Sparangia, the hyphae and spores. The spores are well protected inside a bulb-like projection that is called Sparangia. During unfavorable conditions, the spores are inside that hard covering. At the starting of favorable conditions, these hard covering break and the spores are coming out. After the germination of spores, we will get new individual. This is the leaf of a Selaginella or fern. When the fern becomes mature, when we observe one leaf, we can see under the leaves dark black spots. These dark black spots are spore bodies. Inside that we can see spores, minute spores. They can move long distance through air. They are lightweight. The spores are light in weight, so they can move a long distance in the air. So they are reproducing very fast, rapidly, and producing large number of new organisms. And this type of asexual reproduction is called Spo Formation. The Spo Formation is very familiar among fungus. Okay, children, today we identified 3 types of asexual reproduction. One is budding, that takes place in yeast with the arise of small bulb-like projections from the parent body. After some days, the bulb-like projection or buds grows and detaches from the parent body and form a new organism. And the second one, fragmentation, which is common among algae. After the maturation of algal body, they undergo fragmentation or division, divide to produce small pieces. Each piece gives rise to new algae. That type of asexual reproduction is called fragmentation. The third type of asexual reproduction we discussed today, that is Spo Formation, which is very common among fungus. Examples like ferns and moss. They are reproducing by Spo Formation. Okay. Now let us wind up today's session. See you again in the next class. Thank you.